So Greenpoint and Williamsburg take on nearly 40% of New York City's trash. The City Council and the Mayor did approve an equitable solid waste management plan years ago, but it has faced significant opposition from many communities. As a councilman, how will you ensure that the implementation of the swamp? And what will you do to reduce trash handled in our community and the extraordinary truck traffic that it generates?
That's a great question, Lacey. And Lacey's exactly right. Greenpoint handles 38% of our city's trash. It's a gross violation of our city's fair share laws. There's a plan underway to open a waste management station on the Upper East Side of East 91st Street. Not surprisingly, the Upper East Siders are rebelling against this. I will do everything possible to make sure that this station opens and takes some of the burden away from us at long last. And if this doesn't happen, then I will sue the city. I will build a coalition of leaders to sue the city on behalf of the fair share of laws.
Well, thank you, Lacey. This is an issue that is near and dear to my heart. As I said, I live on Morgan Avenue. I know the truck traffic that comes through this neighborhood and that affects the quality of life so deeply here for so long. And it has been absolutely unfair for generations for this community to have dealt with, as Mr. Pearson noted, 38% of the city's solid waste. I'm actually very glad that there are some mayoral candidates who have been able to stand up for opening up the waste transfer station on East 91st Street, but we need to continue to fight to get the full implementation of the SWAMP program. I've been happy to work with my colleague, Councilmember Diana Reyna, who represents the 34th District, on fully implementing the SWAMP program. We've been in talks just in recent weeks about coming up with the equitable, the fair number, so that we can get capacity down. What the key is in this is making sure that the maximum capacity of waste, of solid waste, is decreased as per the SWAMP program, and that's fully implemented. And so, if we're not able to get it done in the next couple of months, I guarantee you that I will be first in line on January 1st to reintroduce the legislation to get that capacity down so that we do not have a number of trucks coming through our neighborhood, polluting our streets.
Okay, thank you. This next one is a big question, so you get 2 minutes. Many of the promises made to the community for parks and open space and affordable housing during the 2005 rezoning have yet to be realized. And yet, development spurred by the rezoning continues to change the face of our neighborhood. What steps would you take as council member to secure commitments from the new administration for the unrealized promises, to preserve and develop affordable housing, prevent displacement, and ensure that the neighborhood's infrastructure meets the needs of a growing community? We'll start with Councilmember Levin.
Thank you, Lacey. This is arguably the most important issue facing this district today. I was not on the New York City Council in 2005 when the Greenpoint-Williamsburg rezoning was passed. And if I were there, I would not have approved it. I would not have stood by and allowed the amount of luxury housing that was approved to be built on our waterfront. Now, over the last 3.5 years, I have fought day in and day out to hold the Bloomberg administration accountable for the promised parks that they made a commitment to. And that includes Bushwick Inlet, that includes 65 Commercial Street, that includes Transmitter Park, which has been delivered at this point and fully built out. But there needs to be a whole lot more. We need to make sure that the developments along the waterfront have mechanisms in place so that the promised amount of open space and affordable housing is locked in. If you look at the very first rezoning that I did when I was in the New York City Council, was a development called Rose Plaza on the river. The developer promised 20% affordable housing at the outset. I stood really alone in the New York City Council opposing the project. Eventually the developer promised 30% affordable housing, 30% affordable housing for family-sized units, and a maximum development height of 28 stories. That is significantly better than the overall Greenpoint-Williamsburg rezoning to the north, where it was 40 stories and 20%. We need to continue to do everything that we can. If includes lawsuits, and that's what we have to do. But the fact of the matter is that this neighborhood has had, cannot really handle any more displacement because I tell you, I hear from senior citizens on almost a weekly basis calling me saying that they're being evicted, that they're losing their homes, that their rents have gone up to $3,000 or more. And so we need a better effort all around. We need better rent stabilization laws. We need to protect our seniors.
Let's start here. We all know that the 2005 rezoning of Williamsburg and Greenpoint has completely failed our neighborhoods. We were promised over 1,000 units of affordable housing, and we received 13 so far. We haven't received the promised parkland either, and now we're being blackmailed. We're saying that after 8 years, we're finally going to be given these things that we were promised 8 years ago, but only if we accept 40-story towers along our waterfront. This is not right. I will not merely demand that these buildings build affordable housing units, I will actively fight their construction. Yes. There are things that can be done. Frankly, it's not too late, and to simply say, to accept our fate tepidly and say, build us some affordable units, build us a couple of parks, and fine, give us 40-story towers. I will not accept that. There are things that can be done. Section 197A, the 197A plan of the charter, says that councilmen can initiate the rezoning process. I will do that in my very first week in city council. Secondly, we're basing this whole project, Greenpoint Landing and Commercial Street, around environmental impact studies that were conducted nearly a decade ago. These are completely insufficient. And furthermore, these studies never made it past phase 1 of testing. We can sue the city on this ground. We can sue these projects, Article 78. We can prevent it. We can stop it. We can force better environmental impact studies. We need a transportation impact study. I will fight to prevent these projects from going up in their present form.
30 seconds for rebuttal on that one if you want to do a quick follow-up.
Now, this has been a question that has definitely come up over the last couple of years in light of the certification of the amended Greenpoint Landing rezoning and for 77 Commercial. The question that I've been asking is it possible to rezone the rezoning? Can you go back and initiate Article 78? Well, unfortunately, Article 78 has a 90-day time frame. So there doesn't seem to be a way through Article 78 to undo the 2004 rezoning, 2005 rezoning. But I am committed to working with the community board. Right now, as they're looking for as they're looking to make recommendations on those two proposals, what can we do to really do what's best for this community? If we can down zone the 2005 rezoning, I would wholeheartedly embrace it. The question is how. And Article 78 is not a legally viable option, but if you can go back and do a new EIS, then let's explore that.
Two quick responses to that. One, there is precedence. March 2008, 13 blocks were rezoned around Grand Street in central Williamsburg, preventing two 15-story monstrosities from going up. This rezoning took place after ground was broken on these construction sites. It's absolutely not too late.
Before we go to the next question, I just want to acknowledge the star of taxi videos everywhere in New York, and our former council member, David Yaski. So the next question will start with candidate Steve Pearson, and this is Steve Levin. Recently, North Brooklyn has experienced an uptick in both violent crimes and quality of life violations, including vandalism and graffiti. What would you do as council member to help the NYPD preserve public safety in our community?
As all of you, I'm sure know, it's been an absolutely horrible summer for crime in Greenpoint. Felony assaults are up over 250% year over year, and this is frankly horrific. Part of the problem is that Greenpoint has changed. It's a very different neighborhood than it was 10 years ago, a very different neighborhood than it was 5 years ago. And the 94th precinct is still funded at the same levels as it was 10 years ago. I will fight for more funding for the 94th. Let me give you one example. I was talking to someone last week whose bike was stolen. They called it the 94th precinct, and they were told, "We don't have anyone available for you. Call 911 instead." This is a precinct that is in shambles, that doesn't have the resources available to deal with our problems. Furthermore, I've been told over and over by so many community members that we need tighter bonds between the precinct and the community. I will fight to make sure these meetings happen. I know there's a meeting scheduled for Monday that was supposed to be between Councilman Levin and the precinct and the community. This was canceled. I don't know why. I know Councilman Levin did have a fundraiser planned that night in Brooklyn Heights. But I would fight for greater community input into the 94th precinct.
Well, this is a very important issue. As I said, I live in Greenpoint. And when I went home 2 nights ago at midnight, there were police in my local corner store because it had been held up. This is an issue that affects my neighbors and it affects me. Last week, when the individual was apprehended that had assaulted 3 women in the Greenpoint community, he was arrested a block away from my house. So I know what is going on in this community. I have my ears to the ground, and I have the local police commander on speed dial, as I have the XO as well on speed dial. And actually, Mr. Pearson, the reason why the meeting for Monday night was canceled was because the commanding officer of the precinct is out of town. And so we actually rescheduled for next Tuesday. So I invite all of you, including you, Mr. Pearson, to join us at this location next Tuesday night, where we'll have a meeting with the 94th precinct to discuss all these pressing issues. But I think that a very important part of it, it's not just funding. You can't just fund a precinct. You have to fund the entire police department. Under Mayor Bloomberg, that funding has been decreased year after year after year. And so we need to fight for more cops citywide. We need to increase community participation. But when it comes to community participation, the fact of the matter is that the community council here in Greenpoint has done a fabulous job. And so the communication is there. We just need more resources.
The next question is going to be about education, and we're going to have 2 questions. The first one, each is a 1-minute answer. Our community school, District 14, the schools are predominantly Title I schools, meaning that federal funding is distributed to schools with high percentages of students from low-income families. As the neighborhood gentrifies, many of these schools will no longer qualify for this money. How will you help the district's already cash-strapped schools prepare for the loss of Title I funding and other budget cuts?
Thank you for that very important question. Now, first, I want to say that this community school district, District 14, is one of the best that we have in Brooklyn, and it has an amazing group of schools, an amazing group of principals, an amazing group of parents. WAGCOPS has been amazing in their organizational skills over the last few years in organizing around educational issues. Now, this is, as you said, Jeff, a major issue facing our local schools because as the community continues to be gentrified, where school after school is at risk of losing their Title I status. We need to get more funding into the local schools, your local elementary, middle schools, and high schools. I have fought for that year after year. I'm on the education committee, and I've been one of the leaders in making sure that equitable funding goes to our local schools. This year alone, the charter budget increased by $210 million. I exposed that fact, I called attention to it, and I'm going to fight against it year after year until our local schools get their fair share, and we stop giving extra funding to the special interests in the city.
As always, we absolutely need to fight for more funding for our schools. Year after year, it's the same battle. It's ridiculous. 2 programs in particular I would fight for. Mayor Bloomberg has systematically cut funding for after-school programs every year of his 12 years in office. I would fight to restore that. I've seen firsthand over the last 8 years of running my nonprofit that no matter what we do between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 3 p.m., if our kids are on the street for the next 5 hours, if they're engaged in 5 straight hours of mind-numbing video games, everything that we do during the school day is lost. I will fight to restore that funding. Secondly, I fully support Public Advocate Bill de Blasio's plan to make pre-kindergarten a universal rate. It's absolutely the fair thing to do, the equitable thing to do, and I will fight for it. Third, I think we need to take control away from the mayor on education. Even if you think that Mayor Bloomberg has handled this control well and wisely, the idea of Joe Lhota having control over our schools scares the heck out of me. I will fight to return control of our schools to us through a democratically elected school board.